How about now? Nothing? Oh my. So, hmm. So I guess I'm rebooting the entire computer. I'm gonna reboot. I can hear you now perfectly. Oh, good, 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 good. Okay, they can't hear you. Okay, perfect. So it worked. Okay, good. So now let's see if you can hear this, because this is a waterfall video, and even though it doesn't have any what do you call that? Any sound. So we can hear you. Okay, beautiful. Don't reboot. Okay, perfect. Okay, we're back on track. Okay, so I'm gonna share the screen of the same thing that we were looking at, but we're gonna look at the outside parking lot, because this guy that comes out, I have a feeling based on the actions, because I sort of like went back and tried to really see what he was doing. When he gets out of the car, I need you guys to pay attention. It's almost like he he gets out of the door, right? Opens the door, gets out, and then he looks to see if the driver of the car is out of the car. And then when he knows that the driver of the car, wait, when the driver of the car, Kevin Albert, gets out, he locks the door with his hand. He's got a fob. So wait, what? Let's watch it. Look, look, look. Now you're echoing. See? And then he locks it. Did you guys see that? I don't hear it going. Did you guys notice that? I'm gonna go back. Wait. Okay, so okay, see, he locks it. He's the one that's got the key to the car, which means that that's not his car. Okay, let's look at it again. Let me see if you guys see it. Gets out, looks at him. Bloop bloop. See, did you notice that? Or no? Let's see. I don't hear echoing. And no, it's better now. Yes. So what about DMART? Did you see when the guy? Okay, perfect. Let's look at it one more time. And let me see if I can make it a little slower so we can, because that's how I was able to cache it. Oh, look at this thing. So this is important to me, because I was trying to identify, did Kevin Albert drive because this guy was drunk, or is this Kevin Albert's car too? I was trying to figure out, like, whose car is this, right? So look, he gets out of the car. What does he look like, guys? Looks, he's out of the car and he goes bloop, zoop, and he locks the car, and then he keeps walking. This guy seems awful familiar. But so here's the other thing that I noticed. So I don't know if you remember that we saw a Jeep right before he left. This was the Jeep 4-door that left. Do you guys remember? And it was around 10:54 or so. So that looks to me like Jennifer McCabe's car. Now, we never heard, did anybody hear, or, yeah, key fob. So I'm going to write that down. That guy had a key fob and he locks the car. So the car is actually his. Kevin Albert drove it. So did anybody hear anywhere that Jen didn't go to the waterfall with Matt? That did they go into cars? Because I thought there was, yes, the white Jeep, but that white Jeep is not a 2-door. It's a soft top. The top is black. It's a 4-door. I have a picture of what Jennifer McCabe's Jeep looks like, and that looks like Jennifer McCabe's Jeep. But what I'm trying to find out is, did Jennifer McCabe drove from the basketball game? Yes, because remember, she wanted Karen to ride with her back to Fairview. Yeah. But by the time that the Jeep leaves, it's 10:54. So the Jeep is gone. Like, it doesn't come back to the waterfall. my curiosity here is, there was a basketball game going on, right? And from there they came to the waterfall. So the Jen McCabe's girls, are those her girls that we see in this other video? Hold on. Let's see if we can see the other video. In the video where, hold on, where the two girls come out. What time was it that I said? 2:54? Because I'm trying to match. Like, that's Karen and John at 10:54:31. So, wait, let's start in the beginning. It's not that long. So, share this one instead. They leave at 10:54:41. The people on the white Jeep. So, what I think, if we see two girls leaving on this video, it is very probable that Jen McCabe drove herself, Matt McCabe drove himself, and the girls took off on Jen McCabe's Jeep. Does it make any sense what I'm trying to say? Yes. Okay, so you're following it. Yep. Yes. So I'm trying to see who. That's Karen and John. So we don't get to see 10:54:32, actually. I thought it was a little earlier. So we don't get to see who are these girls. But why don't we get to see that? Because they left the waterfall at, look, 10:54:41. Are you seeing this? Let me go back. Yep. So my question here is, if they leave at 10:54:41, we should be able to see it, to see them leaving. So why don't we see them leaving? It's 10:53:48. So they should be leaving the waterfall right around now, right? Because we're about a minute away. So let's see if somebody else comes out. But somebody send me a picture of this girl's leaving the waterfall. 10:54:12. Nobody's leaving. But yet the girls are already leaving. 10:54:21. And then they come in. Huh. Well, this is odd. Hold on. Share this one instead. So the lights are, who are these? 10:54. Wait. Let me see if they go to the Jeep. Maybe those are the people that are in the Jeep. Yep, looks like they are. Let's see. Yeah, well, that answers that question. That wasn't them. So that was other people that were inside the bar, got inside the Jeep, and left. And somebody's going that way. Wait. So I wonder what time did Higgins come in? Hold on. Is that a plow? Wait. Girls. Girls. Wait. Let me see something. So the Jeep goes. It is being determined that that is not Jen McCabe's Jeep. But there's a plow back there. Hold on. So they leave. This is a truck with a plow. That's what it looks like. Yeah. That is a truck with a plow. So it's not a Jeep. So one thing that we didn't do was we never looked at this entire video because we don't know what time did these people arrive there, right? But this one starts at 10:45. Now, did you remember that I always said that this car over here had the lights on and we couldn't see whether it was? I still can't see what it is. But it goes through there and it disappears. Now, we're going to leave this screen and go back to this screen. So it was exactly 10:54:29 that Karen and John come in. And he hugs Higgins first. 10:54. I don't know how many times I'm going to do the same. Now, another thing that I discovered, do you want me to, hold on. Okay, share this one instead. Okay, they're kissing and saying hello to people. Now, do you remember when we were here back the day that we found, yeah, unfortunately, that's not them. It was somebody else. So that clears that up because I see a Jeep Wrangler running around town until hey hours of the night in front of the library, too. So can't tell what car it is. The one with the lights on. Yes, which the lights sort of fall right where the label is. But this is an interesting thing that I was going to show you. That is the parking lot of, well, this is the inside of the waterfall. The one that we were showing is the the waterfall surveillance camera. But what I was going to let you know, after, what's his name? Kevin Albert comes in, and I'm going to make it bigger. At some point, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he takes his jacket off and he gets closer to the table and he starts talking to them. But we can't, the first night that we saw it, it was a little impossible to see because I guess I was too excited. But then a couple of the times that I've watched him earlier, I keep looking at him and I'm pretty sure it is him that takes his jacket off. And he's in there about 31 minutes. Now, what's interesting to me is that the person that he comes in with, it's sort of trying to avoid the table where Brian Albert and Higgins are. And I'm going to show you. But Kevin Albert takes his jacket off and he goes all the way over there, like right on top of where the 6 is on the time, right? Look, he takes his jacket off and he's with Chris back there. Look, this one tries to avoid, the guy tries to avoid Brian. Look, he just keeps going. He puts his hand and he keeps going. Do you see it? But he does the same thing when he comes out. Brian pulls him out, gives him a hug. What the heck do you think you're going? And then he goes to the back and Chris Albert is over there talking. There he goes. Now Chris is talking to what's his name? To Kevin. Before he comes back and joins Brian Albert here, Chris, I'm talking about Chris. Before Chris comes back, he spends a wildly long time over there talking to Kevin Albert in the back corner here. And I recognize him by the little bald spot, right? He's gonna go to the, see, he took his jacket off. Did you see it? Let me see if you saw it. I can't see. Yes, okay, perfect. Hi. And okay, so you did see it. So he did take the jacket. Did somebody not see it when the jacket was taken off? And Karen keeps his back. Karen doesn't even, I don't think Karen even knew or cared who that person was, you know? She was entertained between Jen and Karina Kolikithis, but look at this two chit-chatting between each other. And Kevin is already there. So, and Chris is over there talking to Kevin Albert. Now, Chris and Kevin are a year apart, okay? Brian and look at the girl. Brian and Kevin are, let me see, first is Brian, then is Kathleen, then is Chris, then is Kevin. So at least 4 years apart between Kevin and Brian Albert. But Karen is very entertained, and John hasn't noticed yet that that is Kevin Albert that walked into the building. The minute he notices, you see, he comes around and he sort of like positions himself by where Brian Albert is. Look, he's coming, he's coming. No, that's Jen. That's Jen. Kevin Albert gets out without his jacket from the bathroom. You see him? And he's talking to Chris right there. John, I don't think, has noticed him yet because John is engaged with Nicole and Caitlin and whatnot, and the group over here, Matt and Colequithas and Karen right here. He's got the little hat. See, now he saw him. So he starts walking. He's by where Nicole is, and he starts scooting over. You see Kevin right here? Kevin is talking to Brian Albert, and there's John facing where Kevin Albert is. Look at that belly. It's a drinking belly. But he's talking to Brian and Higgins right there in that table. And this is right after he gets out of the bathroom. He takes his jacket off. Now, John is facing this side, right where they are. And I think by now he's already noticed them. But when Kevin goes to the back, watch John come around. Yeah, there we go. So Kevin goes to the back and watch John, how he, like, very subtle, stuck into Nicole and to Caitlin. And then he comes over this side. Watch. It's 11. Talking to Caitlin. Talking to Caitlin. Entire time talking to Caitlin. I don't know if you see him. Yeah. Nicole is over here talking to Brian Albert and Brian Higgins. And yeah, he went to the bathroom, and after he came out, he took his jacket off. He's talking to the guy that came in with him, which I have still no idea who it is. I was watching videos of people today to see if I can ID him. And Chris Albert, that's who he's talking to right there in the back. But you see John? I don't think John has seen him yet. Yeah, he's got quite the belly. And then I always thought that John knew what was going on and was reading the room to see what was going to do what next. Well, there's a lot of theories out there. Like, we've always thought that this has something to do with the Sandra Birchmore, because a lot of people say that what John had was a. So it's funny because right after his sister died and he took over the kids, right? And hold on, he takes over the kids. He sort of got, okay, here he comes. Wait. And then he stands right next to Brian Albert. He positions himself there the entire night. So he's not giving his back to Kevin anymore. Now he's sort of like sideways where he can see him. Now, the minute that Chris stops talking to Kevin, he comes and he goes near John. Watch. Watch. So when after Kirsten died, like about 6 months later, the father also died, right? So John took over the kids, and he managed to get like a job within the Boston Police Department that allowed him to have some time with the kids, right? Don't forget that this was right around the COVID time. Well, they died 2013, 2014, but around the COVID time was when he met. I mean, he reconnected with Karen. In 2017, he moved back to Canton, and that's when they moved into that house, the one that is in One Meadows. So he got a better sort of hours job at a desk, I guess. I'm not sure. but it was within the SORI unit, which is the registry, sex offenders, whatever not. And then, I have a feeling, because you guys know how it is. I have a feeling that even though people respected him and were thought highly of him because of what he did, taking over those kids, there had to be some sort of jealousy or envy, because here's this cop, right? Everybody's out there catching bullets and whatnot, but you cannot reduce the pay or the salary of any state employee just because you give them a different position. The salary doesn't go down, right? You can accommodate the position and add other duties, but your salary will remain the same. So I personally think that that could have had, like, hit a nerve with a couple of the cops around him, because even though they knew and respected him for doing what he did for his niece and nephew, they sort of maybe felt jealousy because maybe he didn't have to work on the weekends. Maybe he had a 9 to 5, or maybe he only had to put in his hours and go home to his adoptive kids, right? He was a fun uncle. I don't know, but that's what happened. So in 2017, he moves to Meadows with the kids into that house, and he lives about 4 or 5 houses up from, if you keep going down on Meadows after you make a right turn on Meadows and Pleasant Street. If you keep going further down, that's where Chris used to live, in one of those townhouses down the road. And then Higgins lived off of, like, if you keep going on Meadows and then you turn, like, on that area, that's where he used to live. But Higgins already had sold his house in January 29th. So he didn't stay in Canton that night. Remember? He went back to West Roxbury. So that's where he was going to go to sleep. He wasn't going to sleep in Canton like the rest of the cops. So I think the guys were jealous of him, and he was a walking flirt. Women kind of found him attractive despite of the beer belly, and you can say he was a catch, right? He was a cop. He had his 2 adopted kids, and he had his whole life ahead of him. So it was a guy that everybody liked. And on top of that, he had a master's degree in criminal justice too, which not every cop has that. Like, most cops just have their high school education. Some have some certifications or on the job trainings that they manage to get, but not many go and put themselves through, a respectable college or university and get their master's degree. So same thing with Enrique Delgado Garcia, which had a master's degree in criminal justice. Yeah. So one of the things that, well, and don't forget, like, right before Karen, Jen was the coach, right? Jen was the coach of these kids. And she used to go to Joan's house, she knew in and out. She would go get them, pick them up, drop them off. Kaylee often would spend the night at her house with her daughter. So there were not many rules, right? Other than take your shoes off before you go inside the house. But people had I am imagining that people knew how to get in. They had access. There were not so many rules about going to pick up the kids and whatnot, right? But then, like, put yourself in this position. Like, you finally find a girlfriend. She comes in. She's helping you with the kids. Like, things change. There's no more in and out, right? Like, if I put myself in Karen's position, and all of a sudden I'm starting to date this guy and I'm starting to spend the night, and we're sort of like trying to see if we can make the family dynamic work. I'm spoiling the kids rotten, buying them Dunkin' Donuts. He's playing the role of being a frugal parent and teaching them how to save and not to overspend, and not to be greedy and all that stuff. But Karen was pretty solid and stable. She had spent quite some time preparing herself academically and going to colleges and masters and whatnot. She was still an adjunct professor at Bentley. So, she had a very good job as a financial advisor, and she enjoyed it. She didn't have to be at a fixed place. She could do that anywhere. Even though I think her office, if I heard right, was in Boston somewhere. So they're playing mom and dad, right? And who's taking them, who's picking them up, whatever. I can see where Karen felt a little bit taken advantage of, because even that night when they're about to go out and celebrate that Kaylee got accepted to Bishop Finn, remember? Along with Camerano's daughter, Kaylee's at home, right? John is about to go out. Camerano picks him up. He talks to Karen back and forth, and they were like somewhat arguing and flirting. I have no idea. Talking about the toilet not flushing, or the shower, and the plumber coming over. But finally, he gets her to go. And I'm sure it was because he wasn't planning on being driving, because he was planning on getting drunk or drinking, right? So I don't know. I find it funny. And I think that Jen had to be a little jealous about the Karen situation. And another thing that I stopped to think the other day, I know that Karen, because she was a financial advisor, tried to organize John's life, right? And like put things into some certain order for him. And I'm sure he agreed that she would put a trust, the house and whatever benefits and whatever, on a trust for the kids. So what sort of like ding 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 on me was that I don't know that oh cool, I don't know that the parents, like John's mom and dad, knew that John had put the house on a trust for the kids. And I was wondering, it's like, wait, did they started like hating her because they found out afterwards that the house was not on John's name, that it was on the kid's name on a trust, and maybe, who knows, along with the so good to see you, Lizzie, that they found out his benefits or whatever not, because I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure that John wanted to have these kids, if anything was to happen to him, regardless of his pushing paper job, right? He wanted to make sure that they were not going to scars, and they were going to be okay and taken care of and well off and blah, blah, blah. And at least the house was going to be paid off and it was going to be theirs, right? So I'm sure he did that for that reason. Well, Karen was the one who helped him do that. But I'm sure he was the one who asked her to. Like, seriously, like, which woman goes out and tells a guy, hey, this is what we're doing and you're going to put this on my name, okay? No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, you can cash more honey with sugar than with salt, right? Or honey, whatever it is that goes. But I'm sure he had to agree to it. So I'm curious if the parents found out, specifically the mom and Paul, because the little that I have been able to observe, these people are very money focused. Everything is money related for some reason. Yeah, exactly. So, hey, and I think that they are. And not only saw her as interfering, but actually what she was doing was trying to bring some sort of a structure into this household, right? The kids, especially, hey, sweetheart, especially Patrick, boys need their moms, right? It's like they need their moms. So do the girls. And the fact that these two got these two kids, they got accepted to Bishop Finn. So they were going to go to this high Ivy League school for high school, both Kaylee and Camerano's daughter. Now, I don't know whether Jen's daughter applied for it because they were into sports, whatever. The other school is more of a what do you call it? Like an academic thing. So it was an honor that they did get accepted. And I don't know whether that brought some jealousy also into the Jen's household because um, you know, these two daughters are going, but her daughter is not. But I mean, Ali has done very well with sports for the most part, and the other one too. I'm not sure about the I haven't dig into so much into that, but I think that there's jealousy everywhere, and at the end of the day, I think people need to learn how to be happy with what they have, with who they are, and if they don't like it, then do something about it and change your own outcome, right? Not try to compare yourself for with somebody else, because it's not going to work. There's only one of us. We don't. There's nobody else like us. There are no such things as two equal apples, right? So I remember my dad, and I hate to tell you guys, but he was a pretty stubborn baby boomer into the military. So it was his way or the highway. And, he made sure that at least me and my brothers and my sisters and everybody, and I was the first girl among 17 cousins, and they were all males. We have to be happy with whoever we are. And, if we're not happy, go to the shower and sing. Once you finish singing, you'll feel better. Or go fix your closet. Like, we couldn't just pout and expect that here's $100 and go buy your, it didn't work that way back then. So, but each of us are perfectly and wonderfully made. Yep, created in his image. Amen. That is so true. And let me tell you that, wait. So wait, he's right there. You see? Okay, so Brian Albert, John, Chris, who's leaning on the table, like looking at a phone or something, and there's the bald guy right here on top of the two. Do you see him? I'm just gonna be the hands on the flesh. Yes. Hi, Lizzie. And wait, honey, I'll be better today. Thank you for asking. Who was sick? And I'm just gonna let these things run by themselves. There we go. Oh wow, there's a button for that. I didn't know that. So I don't have to click them. I was clicking them like one by one. So wait. So this is where it's going to get interesting. It's right around the time that they are about to leave. Let me see. I want you to take a look at how this guy sort of tries to hide right behind. Okay, I'm going to bring it over to closer to 11. 27 and oops, too long. Whoops, too long. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, I guess. 20, 21. Okay, I'm going to slow it down just enough so we can catch a few details. We don't miss a bit here. Okay. Okay, so he starts coming out. Brian is still engaged with John in this table. Do you see it? But Chris is over there talking to, what's his name? To Kevin. So I guess these are band people. Karen is like, she has no idea what the heck is going on. Matt, and I don't know if you missed it, but Matt spent quite some time talking to Kevin Albert over here right before he went to the bathroom. I don't know why we missed it. Maybe because we were talking. But you're going to see, and hold on. Okay, wait. I'm going to wait. He's coming. I'm going to take the messages off so you can see. Okay. Okay, wait. Hi. Okay, here we go. Okay, wait. So there goes one person. There goes the other person, not related to anything, right? And then he puts his jacket. He's putting the jacket back on. Don't forget, he took the jacket. That's why nobody recognizes that he had spent pretty much 31 minutes inside the entire waterfall bar since he put his foot in. And Higgins is like looking that way at this time. See? Looking over there. Now he turns, yeah, and then he's looking over there again. Now he turns to these two. So he's like switching between looking at what's happening with the friend that Kevin Albert brought over. They're saying goodbye over there. He's putting his jacket on. and Chris, and Brian Albert touches Brian on his shoulder. And this is when Kevin Albert starts walking, John turns and looks that way and sees him. He's extending his hand to Brian Albert, John is. And now look at the guy that came with Kevin Albert, how he sort of tries to go right behind Kevin and pass the table fairly quickly. The table where they all are. This is Chris. He's back in the picture. Chris, John, and that's Jen. Jen, Chris, not Jen. Nope, Jen is over here. I'm sorry. Chris, John, Brian Albert, and Higgins. Now watch. Watch. They're coming. So first comes, or starts moving, the guy with the, wait. This one goes. The next one is coming. Watch. It's 25. I thought it was 26. 40. Here we go. Here we go. There's Matt McCabe right there. So he already starts talking to him, and then he goes to the bathroom. Watch. You see the little head over there? And then he went to the bathroom. Well, Higgins put in a proffer, and that proffer, look, comes with immunity. Hold on, we'll go back to that. Let me, wait. See, he pokes him. John turns around. He pokes John. He turns around, and that guy, look, sort of goes right behind. Who are you? Right behind Kevin. And look at his hand now. Look, he's waving them to come out. Look. Did you see that? Okay, let me wait. Okay, wait. Okay, let's look at it again. Look at the hand of the guy moving. See? Asking them to come out. And there's Brian and John. I don't know if you noticed that. Did you guys notice that? Yep. So the guy that was with Kevin Albert was also waving in at the door, sort of like waving, like making signs, like come out. And yep. So he's not the only one, but I didn't think that he wanted to be anywhere near Brian Albert. Gave me the impression almost like he was scooting behind him to try to get away and don't even have to like say bye to anybody. But Higgins' proffer puts him in a position where he pretty much testified to the events that happened that night, right? That's what a proffer means. And the proffer is tied up to the fact, I don't know if you saw the DUI lawyer that put out the sidebars. The proffer is tied up with an immunity deal. So the way I understand it, and I'm going to double check tomorrow with Sean McDonough, but the way I understand it, or the way I knew that this works is, if he had been the one who killed Higgins, I don't think he would be working for the federal government. As simple as that. I don't think he would have gotten immunity either. Well, but then Eddie Hernandez was the one that he didn't have any beef with John. He had a beef with Brian Albert. But then if he had a beef with Brian Albert, yeah, that's the guy with the goatee. Yeah. And I think he's the owner of that car. If he had a beef with Brian Albert still, why would, unless the whole shebang about the funeral is a lie and they were not in any funeral together and they did not come back together from any funeral, but maybe they, I don't know, but why would Eddie Hernandez trap himself 4 hours inside a truck right? To come back from New York on a trip with the same guy that beat the heck out of him in a Christmas party in 2017. Who does that? Like, who does that? Nobody does that. Why would you do that? So it doesn't make any sense. I didn't see any. And then the funny part about this stuff is that it pissed me off. I'm going to share this one instead. Pissed me off that if you go back and you look at the 11:27, why are those 26 minutes missing? Like, why? Why does it jump? Where did those 27 minutes go? What I can tell you is that none of these people thought that after all this time, if there was a video that was supposed to surface somehow, I don't think anybody had any idea that anybody would be focused as far as looking for freaking Kevin Albert. Right? I mean, obviously, they look how he jumped to 11:53. Obviously, they try to hide him just like they tried to hide, and they succeeded with the Chris situation because in trial one, yeah, nobody. In trial one, Chris's who's that? Wait, go back. Where'd you go? Wait. Oh, did you see that? Wait. It disappeared. So, but somebody comes out. Let me see who, if I can see. So nobody's going to be looking for Kevin Albert 2 or 3, 4 years after the whole thing. Even if there was a video that surfaces, who the heck is going to keep all this all these details in their heads? Literally nobody. Exactly. So the other thing is that there are so many people that after Karen was acquitted, the idea was like, okay, we're done. She's acquitted. She's not going to jail, right? Everybody celebrated and everybody went their way, went about to live their lives. And a lot of new people started coming in, getting interested about the case, learning about it, following the same content creators. There's a handful of us whom sort of have remained since back in the day in April when Turtle Boy blew up the horn about the 227 Google search that are still here today. A lot of people are new. Very few are back from that time, right? Except if you're local to the area. But I don't think anybody was expecting that anybody was going to ID this guy. But I was talking about Chris. When Chris went to trial one, what happened? Well, Julie had a headache. No, I went home. Now, I don't know if you saw the last video that I tried to. A lot of people told me that it was a little confusing, but what I was trying to do was, I don't know if you remember how the entire time there was a big thing. You heard all the time. Well, no, he got out of the car. He got out of the car. John got out of the car. Remember? Well, recently, there's a watch data information that indicates that when Jen pulled up to 34 Fairview, guess who got out of the car? Jen did. So one of the last phone calls, not the last phone call, but one of the last phone calls that Jen placed to John's phone that she talked to him was at, I would say that was the last phone call, 12/18/44. The phone call started like from inside the car using the Bluetooth of the car. And as the car was approaching 34 Fairview, by the time that it got there was 12/19/22. Okay. But what happens is when the car gets to 34 Fairview, the watch on Jen indicates that she gets out of the Yukon and goes inside, right? And the call is still ongoing inside the Yukon. So that call never ended. It concluded at 12/20/03. But the interesting thing about this thing is that At 12:19 even, John opens up his WhatsApp, and I guess he flipped it up, right? And I put a poll at one point. Do people think that he used his voice to search for 34 Fairview, or did he put 3-4 and then it pop up and he just tapped it and got it? And everybody was saying boys. A lot of people were saying, yeah, he searched it. Well, it was very quickly and easy for me to determine that it wasn't a boys thing because he was on the phone still. He was still talking to whoever it was that was inside the Yukon. So this is where it gets interesting. Right after trial one, what did Chris Albert say? Chris said that Julie had a headache. He went home and he went home and Julie went home and they didn't go. And what they heard was that the guy never showed up at the house, right? That's what he said. Well, right after the trial ended, the first trial, there was a police report that showed up and actually indicated that Chris, on that report, look at them, Matt, Chris said that he followed Brian Albert to 34 Fairview. Do you guys remember that? Let me see what you guys are saying. No chance fans has so many inters working and they didn't find this. Yep. So I don't know if you guys remember, but that's what happened. So there was a police report that was found after trial ended that puts Chris Albert at 34 Fairview, and he stated that he followed Brian Albert to 34 Fairview. So if we go to 12, they're about to leave. If we go right to the time that Chris Albert starts leaving, and he's one of the last ones to start leaving. Look right here, 12:13:06. Let's look. He goes and he talks to the flannel guy, and he knows his people. He has a business nearby, and whatnot, and everybody knows him or fears him, but they all know him, and he knows who they are. So at 12:13 and wait, here we go. He starts walking out 12:13:40 something, I think. Look. So 38, 12:13:39, 40, 41, 42, and he's out. He's got a beer. Don't forget that. No Shave November, and we're in January. So if I go to this one and I go to that one wasn't deleted. Why didn't they delete that one? They didn't want us to see what happened when Kevin Albert, that's Jen, going to the Yukon. So at 12:13:40, let's leave it there. So share this one instead. So now I'm sharing this one, right? And don't forget, there's the flag. But here's the canopy. Right there. Do you see it? There's a canopy. I'm going to try to see if I can continue to do that so you can see him. There's Chris right there. You see him? He's coming out. He looks to the side and he sees what? The Yukon. The Yukon is about to go. Look. Comes out. He looks to that side. He looks to the side. Where's the Yukon? We lost the Yukon. Hold on. This video gets edited all the time. Where's the Yukon? I don't see it. Okay. $13.48. I don't see the Yukon now, but he looks this way. Look how the Yukon disappeared. Did you notice that? Did you guys know? Oh my God. Okay, wait. Let's see. Playback. Let's put it on one. There's a Yukon. And there's Chris Albert coming out. Right? And he sees the Yukon. And he goes that way. So my theory, and I'm just going to throw this at you. My theory is that Chris Albert jumped with, yeah, it is wild. Chris Albert jumped in the Yukon with Matt McCabe, and please feel free to put comments because I want to hear what you have to say, but hear me out. If that reaction tells me that Chris, when he turned to the left and saw the Yukon, he went straight towards where the Yukon is and jumped in the back with Jen, who is driving, and Matt McCabe, who is in the passenger seat. And that's why he said, I followed Brian Alberts to 34 Fairview, because it doesn't make any sense. If you think about it, Brian Albert was out of there by 11:58, 11:57, right? By 12:05, they were already at 34 Fairview. So Chris was the last one to leave. He certainly didn't say he followed Jen and Matt McCabe. And the only reason why he would not say I followed Jen and Matt McCabe, which were actually the party who left after Brian, Nicole, and everybody else, is because he went with Jen McCabe. And that's why he had to say, I followed Brian Albert to 34 Fairview, because that group was the second group that left that followed them to whatever it is that they were going. So, I mean, logically, if you put it into context, okay, if I'm Chris Albert, right, and I'm leaving, and I know that my brother, the oldest, right, where the party's going to be happening, it's already gone. And I know that I'm the last to leave. And before me, Jen and Matt McCabe left, I would have said, I followed Jen and Matt to 34 Fairview, to Brian's house. But he didn't say that. And he didn't say that because he did follow Brian Albert to 34 Fairview, because it was with Jen and Matt McCabe that he rode. And I'm going to make it worse. I'm going to throw another curveball at you. And I don't know who's into baseball, but I am. I'm going to throw another curveball. If Chris was the one who invited John to come to the waterfall, there is not one single freaking call on John's log that Chris either texted or called him or absolutely nothing. So why wouldn't he call him and text him? He didn't have to. He was in the car. It was 12:14 and a few seconds when they were at the corner of Sherman and Washington Street. And then they turned to the left, which is a short way to make it to 34 Fairview in less than 4 minutes, right? So if Chris is in the Yukon and the 12:18:44 call starts from inside the car using the Bluetooth of the Yukon, and Chris is in the Yukon, then that means that Chris is also part of that conversation, right? So he didn't have to call John. He knew exactly what was going on because he was listening through the Bluetooth of the Yukon. Does it make any sense? I think Chris was on the Chris was inside the Yukon. He was engaged. And I think also that Jen was controlling John's ETA. I mean, who invites anybody to go to our house and they get there before you get there? I'm sure. I mean, she's a control freak, so she probably wanted to get there before anybody got there. So she's the one that is, telling them Bella's mom, this and that. But do you know where Bella's mom is? Bella's mom is around the place where the same corner where, traffic controller, the same corner that they took when they turned on Sherman on left on Sherman to go to, that's where Bella's mom is. If you already know that they are, lost in the boondocks looking in a goose chase, why would you give her that? I don't know. That reference doesn't make any sense. But I think by 12:19, when they were on the phone that started from inside the Yukon, John got like desperate. I'm going, you know what? I'm just going to put her on Waze because it's like he didn't know, right? And so he opens up the Waze app while he's talking to Jen, Matt, and Chris on the Yukon. And he starts putting 3-4 and he finds it on his history, right? On the history of his searches. He tapped on it and it pops up and he realizes how close he is to 34 Fairview. Now, Jen gets out of the car because that's what her watch says. I mean, Lana did a whole show on this thing. It doesn't get any better than that. If Jen's watch shows her that she's actually walking towards 34 Fairview, Jen is in 34 Fairview, so who the heck is left behind on that Yukon? Matt is on the passenger seat. It was Jen who drove because I saw her flashing her lights and getting into the driver's seat when she got in the Yukon. So I don't know if you guys saw it. Let me see if I can show it to you. That was pretty cool too. That was pretty cool. No, not that one. We're going to go here. We're going to go to this one. I have so many YouTubes open because I don't stop looking for little clues and whatnot. Okay, so Jen gets out. Okay, right around here. Jen is already 12:20. Okay, let's see. The Yukon is over here. I don't know if you see it. It's over there. So she gets in. Look. And you're going to see that she cranks it up. 12, 10, 30. Was it 12:10 or 12:11? 09. Hold on. That's what it was. Yep, there it is. So 12:11, 09, she's there and she was talking to John. John and Karen go the other way and she starts going this way. You'll see. There's a car over there. Matt and Colicithas follow her. She goes in between these cars. Like, I have a feeling that she didn't even know where she parked her car because she's like not going straight to it. Look, she kind of like dances a little. Or maybe there's people there and she's stopped. I don't know what she's doing, but she's right here. And then she goes this way. And then she goes that way. Look. No flag. Look. So there's Matt and Colicithas. Matt goes here to the right. Colicithas go to the left. Mr. Colicithas and Mrs. Colicithas, Karina, drove in 2 different cars. Okay, so here's Jen. Jen already jumped on the driver's seat of the car and she starts flashing the lights to Matt. So when she sees him, look, see? So, and then look at Matt. Matt goes on the other side, like on the passenger side. I hope you guys can see it. If not, you can look at it later and try to expand it. But he goes on the other side and Jen immediately, the minute that he closes the door, boom, she starts taking off. Look. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Right about now. And here comes Chris. Actually, 12, 13. I kept staring at them to see if they happened to change drivers. You see somebody also walking around there? Like somebody else was walking around here? But I am pretty pissed that those 53 minutes, the 26 minutes that are missing from the parking lot, because how do we know that the other guy didn't drive, right? How do we know that? We don't know that. So let's see. I'm going to stop here. The next one that I wanted to watch was, I have a few on queue. This is pretty sad because there's a point in this video where he actually describes John's last steps. And this is one of the saddest moments for me, because you get to listen to him not only talking about the what do you call it? Like, how fast is he going, and the miles per hour that he's traveling, and it gets really, really, really scary. Now, I'm going to stop here for a minute because this could be a little bit interesting. The thermometer and the battery temperature. I don't know if you guys remember that slide, but when he talks about times, I have no idea. Like, I don't know here which times is he talking about, because the battery temperature on the actual cell phone, 1710, 1724, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And then some of these conversions, I think he made mistakes, but, and I started checking, I caught a couple of them, but not all of them. And I need to do that too. I forgot I'm supposed to do that. But he did make a couple of mistakes converting from Celsius to it's like, why would you even bother putting it on Celsius? We don't use Celsius over here, man. And then it's very sad because this guy used to be a police officer. It's like, really? How is that possible? Okay, so on the 28th, if you look at the it goes from 77 degrees the entire time, right? Look, and it's still at 12:37, it's still at 72 degrees. I'm going to share this one instead. At one point, do you see it? 66, 61, 55 at 107, 50 at 136. Okay. But even at 614, 606, it's still registering temperatures that are not, they don't make any sense, because the temperature in Canton that night, that's right around this time was when it started to get really, really cold. And it was anywhere between the 20s and the 18s and the 15s, and then it went down to the 10s. So how do you explain 77 degrees Fahrenheit at 12:20:43? How do you explain 82 degrees at 12:21:39? If I'm reading the times right, right? At 12:37, 72 degrees. But then later on, he goes over here and he starts explaining to people, and especially to Hank. Hank starts asking him, so where is he at right now? And where is he is right now? And tell me where he is. And I wanted to read it again, but I can warn you right now, it is extremely sad. He starts saying, like, where is he at? How fast is he walking? How quickly? And then he goes to a complete stop at 12:30, 24 and 38 seconds. And I'm going, what do you mean he comes to a complete stop? Him, the phone. But then if you listen to the rest of the whatever, if you listen to the rest of the
altitude changes
of his testimony, you can tell that it's almost like, is John running away from something? Now, easily your phone can be detached from you, right? Like, when you're in a fight or something happens, you can easily either lose your phone from your pocket, you can place it somewhere too, and the phone starts doing crazy things or stays settled, right, without any movement while you're doing other things. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But the way that I interpret when he starts talking about how fast he's going, he's either in a car or he's running away from something. And when he suddenly says that he comes to a complete stop at 12:24:38, for some reason, all that I can imagine is that that's the time that he died, right? So I've been looking for nuggets, but I do know that Chris Albert probably jumped in that Yukon with Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe, and went to 34 Fairview and arrived there at 12, 19, and 22. And that when they pulled up, Jen got out of the car and went into 34 Fairview, but the car stayed running with two people, and who knows who else jumped inside that car. The call was still ongoing. At 12:19, John opens up his Waze app. He's still on the phone. He couldn't have used his voice to ask for 34 Fairview. He probably did the 3-4. It showed up. He picked it up real quick. And he probably said, hey, I'm not that far. He probably figured out how close he was to 34 Fairview. It's the only logical explanation, because that call ended at 12:20 and 3 seconds. So if he got the results, the logical thing, and you know that people are guiding you to come somewhere, right? Is that you tell them, yeah, I know where I'm at. I'm not that far, right? So what happened after? Did somebody jump on that Yukon and say, no, we know where you are. We'll go get you. So where are you at? Oh, we know where you are. We'll go get you. And jump on the car and go get John? What happened? Lana is dead certain that John got out in Oakdale. There are so many freaking cops in Oakdale that is just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So I'm not sure. I wonder if the Apple Health data showed his other vital signs. Did he have an app? No. What he had was the Fitbit situation. And don't forget that he had an iPhone 11. So, none of the people that were, and that's another thing that pissed me off. John's phone wasn't even extracted until 2023. How do you indict Karen? How do you arrest her and charge her with absolutely nothing when you haven't even taken a look at the phone and extracted the Google or the locations or anything? And then it's also pretty ironic that at some point we hear Ian Whiffing say, here, we're going to play it for a minute just to see. He says that there's 12 minutes of inaccuracy at 12:37, but we just saw the map, right? At 12:27, that phone, the battery, was
fairly consistent with the data
77
that was recorded
degrees
on the device in terms of altitude information. And
just so you know, inaccuracy happens when a phone is indoors, right? Not outdoors. So if at 12:19 he Googled, he opened his Waze, and in less than 5 seconds, he managed to search and get the results for 34 Fairview, there's not an issue with signal at that time, if you ask me.
I would
because he managed to do it quickly.
Suggest is the reason that these flight climb events occurred.
Mr. Whiffen, there's 3 different times. The first is 12/22/17. At that time, was the Waze data app initiated?
It was.
Well,
And did
it
that
is a bummer,
indicate
but it
whether or
isn't
not Mr.
because,
O'Keefe or his
check
phone
this out.
were traveling in a car?
It didn't register a lot of stuff, but regardless of his phone, which I will put my hand on fire that it was inside a Faraday bag from 1:36 in the morning until 6:04 in the morning, it was counting steps during that time. So when the phone got taken out of the Faraday bag, the updates happened on that phone. It became exposed to radio frequencies, right? The cell phone towers frequencies. So at that point, whatever steps were taken with that phone inside that Faraday bag from 1:36 in the morning until 6:04, they updated and they showed us 432 steps at 6:04 in the morning. These are not steps that were like taken at 6. No. Those were the steps
At that
that
time.
were taken during the
to
time
still
that
be
it
traveling
was
in
in
the
the
car.
Faraday bag.
At 12/22/32,
A lot of people don't understand that.
Was the Waze data initiated and active?
It was, yes.
And at that time, does the data indicate that Mr. O'Keefe's phone was in a vehicle and moving?
It does.
And you showed us a slide finally from 12/24/37 that the vehicle was still moving 1.4 miles per hour.
Correct.
And was the Waze data initiated and active at that time, 12/24/37?
If I remember correctly,
That's a
Waze
minute before
closed
he comes
about
to a
5 or 10
complete
seconds
stop.
earlier.
Now, based on your study of the Waze information, the location information, the topography, and the healthcare data, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty whether the indication on the healthcare data reflecting flights of stairs, do you have an opinion whether or not that was registered as a result of a person holding a phone, walking upstairs, or for some other reason?
Based on the location data, the health data, and the research that I did and the testing, I believe it is more likely that the device was in a vehicle traveling on a road going up an incline versus the location data being incorrect and the person being walking up physical stairs.
Thank you. You can continue, please.
Okay. So I'll address the idea of 3 clocks, which I believe was brought up previously.
Let me interrupt.
Sorry.
Why don't we just explain to the jury how clocks work in an iPhone?
That is kind of covered in the next slide anyway.
Okay.
Maybe worth just jumping ahead to that slide.
Explain the idea of 3 clocks.
Yes. Essentially, there is 1 clock on an iPhone. It's
24/28,
14.5 miles per hour,
24/29,
12.1 miles per hour,
24/30,
11.5 miles per hour,
24/31,
10.4 miles per hour,
24/32,
8.9 miles per hour,
24/33,
7 miles per hour,
24/34,
5.2 miles per hour,
24/35,
3.5 miles per hour,
24/36,
3.2 miles per hour,
24/37,
1.4 miles per hour,
and 24/38.
0 miles per hour or 0 meters per second.
And at 24/38, that phone is stopped near the flagpole.
I would say so, yes.
Then the location data gets more broad.
It does.
There is no movement at that time after the car stops. Is there any movement when the car stops at 24/38, between 24/38 and 24/30?
Between 24:38 and 24:30, how can we go backwards? That doesn't work, Hank.
Is there any movement indicated on the healthcare data?
Not from the health data, no.
Health data, not care. Health care is something else.
At 12/31/57, does the phone demonstrate any movement?
If I may just look back at my
Of
report,
course,
just to
please.
recall. What time was that, sorry?
12/31/57.
Yes, around 12:31, 56 or 57 is the start of the health event, 36 steps.
And it ends
How long? How many seconds does that
20.
phone move for?
20 seconds. Come on. It ends at 12:32:16.
20 seconds.
Yeah. So this is what's a little impossible to me. And I want you to guys hear me out. Are we still here? Did I lose everybody? Okay. So let's say for instance that right, my phone has been sitting in the same place since I started doing this live with you. Oh my God, guys, it's gonna be an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, so my phone has been sitting down, right? And it hasn't moved anything. Let's say that I end the live and I grab the phone and I go outside, get my dogs out, grab a glass of water, whatever it is, right? It's going to start moving after it had stopped moving, right? It's been not moving for an hour and 20 minutes, right? But then if I grab it and start walking and walk outside, it may take me less than, I don't know, a minute or two to let the dogs out, grab a glass of water, and sit down again. But there's movement that happens. Now, my health data, right, while the phone is sitting down and I have my watch on and I've been with you on the computer, my watch keeps saying that I'm moving. I'm moving my hands. I'm moving. It's registering my heart rate, right? Everything. But when both fail at the same time and everything stops at 12:24:38, 7 minutes go by, no activity whatsoever anywhere. Not on his Fitbit thing, not on the health data thing, nowhere, not on the phone. And then it starts again just for 20 seconds between 12:31:56 until 12:32:16. That doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean that it was John that suddenly, after being, like flatline for 7 minutes, literally gets up and in 20 seconds stays 36 feet or meters or whatever and goes outside and puts the phone. That doesn't make any sense. So applying logic to this thing, and especially considering the last findings, the last stuff that has come out, that phone call happened from inside the Yukon, that Jen got out of the Yukon, that what do you guys think? Tell me, what do you think? Does anybody have any thoughts? Let me see. Nobody has a thought? Hello? Everybody's quiet or just listening and not watching. But what I'm trying to say is, does it make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. So to make it make sense, first we need to understand that at 12:21:05, there is a trigger event on John's phone. At 12:21:10, there's another trigger event on John's phone. And his health data is working beautifully and perfectly, along with the battery, the entire time until 12:24:38. So those 7 minutes of inactivity reflect something, right? And the same with the 20 seconds that phone was grabbed, brought outside or brought closer to the thing, turned off, and put in airplane mode. 20 seconds. That's all it took. Heck, it took 5 seconds for John to open up his Waze and search 34 Fairview, right? It took him 20 seconds. 5 seconds. So in 20 seconds, somebody located that phone, grabbed that phone, brought it closer to the flagpole area, turned it off, either wanting or not wanting, but brought it closer to where the flagpole area is, turned it off, put it on airplane mode, and c'est la vie, off we go. And there's no more movement of that phone or John's health data after that time. The only thing that happened with that phone is that at 1:36, it has a trigger event of going inside a Faraday bag because it disappeared from Earth until 6:04 in the morning. So something happened to John between 12:21 and 12:24 and 38 minutes. So now we know Kevin Albert is in the picture. John was found in front of Lieutenant Kelleher's house, 35 Fairview. Lieutenant Kelleher was calling Gallagher at hay hours in the morning. There's a recorded call somewhere. Somebody finds it. There's one where Lieutenant Gallagher calls Kelly Dever and says that he's driving his POV. He's got no gear on, and he ended up at One Meadows. he got confused, and lieutenant called me and said this, and blah, blah, blah. Where is the address, blah, blah, blah. And Kelly corrects him and gives him 32 Fairview Road. There's a longer call where Gallagher says that. But if you think about it, Gallagher used to live in Milton in 2022. Kelleher, that knows that something is going on, is right in front of 35 Fairview, of 34 Fairview. He's on 35 Fairview. Detective Albert, Kevin Albert, who was at the waterfall, right, lives 4 minutes away from the waterfall. The other one lives, Lank, 2 minutes away from 34 Fairview. Why would Kelleher, who also works in Canton PD with Michael Lank and Kevin Albert, wants to know what's happening at 34 Fairview? Did he see any activity? Because he's never come into this episode, right? Why would Kelleher call Gallagher and not Lank or Kevin Albert? If they were not conflicted out, if they were not already compromised, if he didn't know that they were either somehow involved or were all in this blizzard party, right? Why would he not call them? Why call Gallagher? I mean, there's a blizzard coming. The guy is driving his personal vehicle. He's not wearing any gear. You could have called the guy that is your detective and lives 2 minutes away, or the other one that is also your Canton detective and lives 4 minutes away from the waterfall. But he didn't. He called Gallagher. So I guess the others had things to do, right? Or were otherwise engaged. But it's all very weird. Now you hear Lank testifying, which I did a short live earlier. And Lank explains how he was in a similar situation back in 2002 when the waterfall was known to be the Centerfield bar. The same bar, the same parking lot, with the same people. Chris and Tim Albert get in trouble with the Lopilatos brother. And Chris goes to help Tim, who's in a fight with Mark. Chris ends up in a fight with Alfredo. Well, he calls who? Lank. Lank is off duty, but Lank goes to rescue his friend because his friend is Chris. Lank goes, he starts getting into a fight with the same people. And they ask him, so where was this fight? And he says, I don't remember. You don't remember who? Of course you remember. It was at the same place, Lank. And guess what? You were in the same status. You were off. And you reactivated yourself to go help your friend. And you were all in a fight. And guess who called? Sergeant Good. I mean, like you can't make this up. The same actors, the same people, the same bodies who lived less than a minute away from each other. All of them. All of them. So you want me to believe that you're framing Karen, that Karen was the one who did this? It's impossible. Right up to 4:53, when Kaylee called Karen, they were going to blame this on a plow. They were going to blame Loki Logren for this. And when Karen ended up calling, having Kaylee call Jen, right? And she had called Carrie first. And Carrie started calling everybody. Carrie talks to Good. Carrie knows Good. Carrie is a realtor in that area. She knows everybody and their mother, and everybody has her number. So she calls Canton PD. Oh, I call the hospitals. I call this, and I'm looking for Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Well, he's probably in a couch somewhere. No, he's well known. Somebody would pick him up and put him somewhere. Yeah, he should be fine. Yeah, well, the girlfriend, I don't know. That's what she says. And not even an hour later, Jen calls 911 and talks to Sergeant Good. Well, like 3 people pick up the phone, talk to Sergeant Good, and Good, it doesn't ding on him. I mean, I've been looking for Kevin Albert since the last 4 years. This guy gets a call not even 45 minutes apart from each other, and somebody tells him that they're looking for Boston police officer John O'Keefe, and it doesn't ding on him that the 911 call that they're reporting a man in the snow is actually John O'Keefe? Or did he pretend he had no clue because he already knew? So when I did that show, Links of a Chain, they're all links of this chain, all of them. Lank is the same age as Chris. I mean, they're a year apart from Kevin Albert. They all worked at Canton PD. Except Chris, they all went to Canton High School. They've had the same fights over and over and over at the same waterfall. But it wasn't called the waterfall back then. It was called Centerfield. And guess who the owner was? The brother of Nick Marathas. And who's Nick Marathas? The boyfriend of Jill Daniels. And who's Jill Daniels? The sister of Julie Daniels. And who's Julie Daniels? Chris Albert's wife. It's like, oh my God. It's like almost like, you know, living in a little. I think that we're very close to wrapping this up. I think this starts back in 1994 when Chris ended up hitting Peter Koberger and leaving him unattended with the person that was severely injured. I think it starts there because he left, he abandoned the scene, he ran home, and 30 hours after was when he showed up and, you know, reported the thing. Same thing with the fight at the with the Lopilato brothers, because they didn't report anything right away. They went to the police the next day. It's almost like they follow the same creatures of habit, right? They follow the same modus operandi over and over and over. And don't forget, John is not the first person that is found deceased in the lawn hours later. Because that's exactly what happened to who? To Craig Casey. When 2018, where right in front of Meadows Ave and Pleasant Street. You know that every single report on Craig Casey left the exact address. It just said Pleasant Street. It never said that it was in the corner of Meadows and Pleasant, because that's where John lived. It was right there in front of his lawn. So finding Kevin Albert opens up a whole bunch of other stuff. I have questions and questions and questions answered. And I'm trying to identify, I'm trying to identify who is the person that comes in with him. Because that person is also encouraging and enticing them to come out. As we saw him leaving the waterfall, come out and moving his hand and telling them to come out. And he is the owner of that car, because he waits on Kevin Albert to get out of the car. He dodges a little, looks at him, makes sure that he's out of the car, and he uses his fob and he closes the car. So that's not Kevin Albert's car. We know what Kevin Albert drives, right? So this is what I'm planning on doing. Finishing this, and then I'm gonna go and watch this, which I don't know if you know her, but this one is
And where do you live?
Canton.
Katie
And,
Camerano.
How long have you lived in Canton?
Probably about since 2005, maybe 20 years. 2005, I think.
And who, if anyone, you live in Canton with?
My husband, Michael, and my 2 children.
And how old are you?
And after I watch that, I'm gonna watch this again from the beginning, because I'm gonna watch the entire thing from the beginning. And after I watch that, I'm gonna watch The Library again. I already watched Brian Higgins, and I watched, I don't know if you saw the DUI lawyer, but oh my God, I almost crashed. I was in my car. Hold on. Oh no, I'm not gonna show you. You have to go give him the view, but I'm just gonna put hold on. It was so funny. I was about to like, wait. I'm not gonna ruin it. What is he called? Oh my God. Lawyer Karen Reed. So I guess he just realized that the sidebars are out, and he went ahead and did a Larry Foreman. He went ahead and did a quick show on him. And how is this allowed? Blah 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 blah. I don't know if you saw it, but the last video that he did was about Brian Albert and Brian Higgins. I'm sorry, and how
going to
Look.
see some unprecedented stuff from the sidebars. The level that Bev is going to go to today to protect Higgy. Oh, yeah, it's Higgy's time on the witness stand. Oh, you're not ready for what you're about to see. And I'm probably going to lose my crap. Let's see.
Okay, I heard this. I couldn't watch it, right? Because I was on the I was driving, but I heard the entire thing and I couldn't stop laughing so hard. And you have to find a way to find the balance while you do all this stuff, right? And then work and keep up with puppies and whatnot. But I'm gonna let you guys go. If anybody has any questions, feel free to leave me comments or put up whatever it is that you need me to look into. There's a couple of theories that we're throwing up in the air. I just don't want to overwhelm everybody because I know that this can be very overwhelming. I'd rather have something concrete put together and then come out and share with you guys. Okay. So, but comments are welcome. You know that. And I'm going to continue to look and see if we find any other clues. Just like we did with the Faraday bag, just like we did with Kevin Albert. People may not believe us right away, but we do have to bring up whatever it is that we can find to allow this case to close. And we are so freaking close. We're down to minutes. I'm not going to worry about the tail light. I never was worried about the tail light or the car accident because I knew that Karen didn't do it. So it never really bothered me. I mean, the simple fact that there was a Faraday bag and at 1:36 that phone went inside a Faraday bag and it didn't come out until 6:04. And let me tell you, I'm sure Lank had that phone. I am absolutely positive. And somebody handed it to him. Hey, sweetheart, somebody handed that phone to him. And the only person that could have handed that phone to Lank was, guess what? Give it a shot. Come on, somebody, say something. You guys are too quiet. Anybody? Was Matt McCabe. That's why he didn't go with Jen to find John. That's why Jen didn't tell Karen, hey, stay where you are. I'll go get you. We're going to go find John. No. Jen needed to have Karen go to Jen's house to 12 Country Lane, which is about 6 minutes away from 34 Fairview. But Jen went ahead and detoured Karen back to One Meadows. Why? Because she needed her to be away from freaking Matt McCabe, because Matt McCabe was bringing the phone from 12 Country Lane to Lank. So when Lank showed up at the scene, because Lank was off. He was going to go back in like around 7:45 or so, but he reactivated himself pretty quickly, right? So, but he needed the phone because Matt had the phone. Yeah. So, oh my God. It's like, it is unbelievable. Sometimes it's just unbelievable. The things that make sense once you sort of like, oh my God, it's just too much. It's like Chris. Why didn't Chris go with Julie? Right? I mean, you have 4 people missing in action. You have Lank missing in action. You have Matt McCabe missing in action. But hey, my wife is going to go in the middle of a blizzard with a John's whatever to go look for the guy, right? And then Julie's going to go deliver donuts and I'm going to stay home, okay? And then Chris doesn't go. And then you have Higgins nowhere to be found, right? But then Julie says that when Jen called, that's how I knew that John died. Well, the only time that Jen called you was at 4:57 in the morning. And then at 5:07, she called you back. So how did you know that John was dead again? Because they found John at 6:03. Sometimes I wonder if like these people are like good at math or something. I don't know. It's just this is beyond me. But hey, the DUI lawyer, oh my God, you gotta listen to this. But the only thing that I'm gonna tell you is that at one point, and I'm gonna let you go give him a like and do his thing.
Thank you.
At one point,
You
they
first.
asked
Let
him.
Lally object if you
He asks him, Cross, where
Relationship.
were you working
just like we don't really have a whole lot
in
of
2018?
about the
Who were
proffer,
you working
And
with?
I was going to ask to approach first. I think it's exceedingly important that the jurors understand that
Do we know anything about that proffer?
I know that it was,
I don't think the proffer means what counsel thinks it means.
Yeah, it
Well,
does.
the point is,
Lally.
he's represented by counsel, right? So we're going to have a voir dire, or at least
Don't forget, the proffer gave immunity to. You're welcome, Aaron. The proffer gave immunity to Higgins. Nobody is going to give immunity to absolutely anybody. Just let that sink in. Nobody will give anybody immunity if you were the one who killed somebody. So every time that I hear loophole, who saying, and we're not going to stop until Brian Higgins is brought to justice. Brian Higgins is never going to be brought to justice because he provided a proffer, which he got immunity. And that means that he didn't kill John. He knows what happens. He probably knows who did. And he knows enough details that they entitled him immunity for the information he provided. Don't forget that Higgins was working with the U.S. Marshals at the time that this happened. Okay? And we have no idea whether he was in an undercover operation or not. We have no idea what he was working. Heck, for all we know, we have no idea that John O'Keefe was not undercover also, right? I mean, Grant Smith Ellis is posting emails that are related to sex offenders and whatever, and Johnny's in the mix. We have no idea what these people, but the point is here, if anybody's working undercover, nobody's supposed to be knowing that thing, right? What are we supposed to be? What is it that people know about us? If any of us are working undercover, oh, I'm pushing papers in the desk, or I'm working whatever. The only person that we know for sure was working on some sort of assignment was Brian Higgins, because he testified to it himself in cross-examination to Alan Jackson, despite of the fact that Beverly Cannoni tried to stop him. He said, I was working with the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Apprehension Unit from 2018 to 2022. And now I'm at a desk job because there was a guy that died on my watch. Now, mind you, 2018 was right after what? The Christmas party that Brian Albert beat the heck out of who? Eddie Hernandez, right? It was in 2017. And also, don't forget, in 2018, Higgins was already living in Canton. In 2017, John was already living in Canton. And what happened in 2018? Craig Casey shows up dead on the lawn. What happens in 2021? Sandra Birchmore dies. And first it's a suicide and then it's a homicide. So all of this stuff that's happening, it's like one on top of each other. Now, the what do you call it? Berkowitz. Don't forget that Berkowitz announced his retirement when? In April. But do you remember what happened in March? Caitlin Albert was assigned to the office of the Attorney General. Nominated by who? By the governor of Massachusetts, Maura Healey. And she started in September, right around the time that the conservation order for the phones came out. But everybody claimed, oh, we didn't see the conservation order. We have no idea what that is. And I changed the phone and I upgraded it because, it was my birthday. Well, his birthday was September 4th, not the 22nd. And right around the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, that's when the conservation order came in. And right before then, that's when Caitlin started working. So are these all coincidences? Like, do people like keep track of all these little nuggets here and there to figure out what happened first and what led to another? Because these, to me, this is just like a game, right? That kids are playing. They're throwing the rock and they're hiding the hand, and nobody wants to assume accountability of anything because what? Because they've done it before. They've done it before, and they managed, right? They left the scene. They ran home. Tim Albert did the same thing. Chris Albert did the same thing. Then Chris Albert and Lang did the same thing years after. And then the next day, 30 hours later, that's when they report whatever it is. Yeah, nothing is a coincidence. So I recommend that you take a peek at the UI lawyer video. That's pretty fun. It is the weekend, right? Friday the 13th. But I'm going to analyze a couple of other stuff and also look at the Camerano lady, because there was a party, a Blizzard party, and everybody knew about it. And I don't think it was a Blizzard party hanging out or happening at 34 Fairview. But what's important to know here is that Lucky Logren went three times up and down 34 Fairview and never saw John O'Keefe. And up to the time that Karen Reed picked up the phone and had Kaylee call Jen McCabe, they were going to blame this on poor Lucky Logren. So, yeah, thank God that Karen cracked her taillight, because they were not able to prove that none of those taillights were anything other than what? Planted. She was framed. So I'm going to try to reconvene. I'm going to try to do a couple of videos throughout the weekends to keep you guys entertained in case that you get bored. And if I get bored, I'll sit down and do them. Sometimes talking when I'm congested with sinus, with all this weather, it's really bad. But if not, we will reconvene on Monday, unless something happens and I can't wait, because that happens too. Like, oh my God, I gotta go live. And then I have to come live and, share with everybody. But other than that, we'll see you all soon, okay? Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the company and all of you. And please leave me any comments if you think that I should look into something, or I missed something or something. Have a great weekend, you guys. Bye, you all.